I find it very interesting that every single time some people dare to criticize a movie that is receiving almost universal praise, that those people are almost always dismissed in some way by the people who like the film. You're a hater, you're a contrarian, and you're just saying things for likes, views, and clicks. The usual bullshit. But if you are someone like me who gives that energy back to the toxic positivity crowd, all of a sudden, you are the bad guy. Over the past few days, I've seen a lot of dialogue about Longlegs. Some people seem to love it, some people hate it, and some people, like myself, are kind of in the middle on it. And yet still, unless you are 100% complimentary to this film, you will still be met with ridicule. Apparently, it's all or nothing in this era of film discussion. And unfortunately, YouTubers, the media, and social media are all responsible for this narrative taking shape. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So the new horror indie darling Longlegs shocked the world this week when it came in over estimates with an estimated $22 million opening weekend. And make no mistake about it, those numbers are good for horror, they're good for theaters, and they're good for the film industry overall. I'm glad that a lot of people seem to connect with this movie for whatever reason, even if I wasn't necessarily impressed with it. It's got a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb, a 63% on Fandango, an 86% on the garbage tier site that is Rotten Tomatoes. So what we have is a situation where box office numbers and review site numbers are quite literally validating a lot of people's opinions right now.
You make me happy.
And you would think this would be enough to make people happy, and not be insufferable assholes to people online who do not agree with them. I can speak from experience when I tell you that I gave Longlegs a kind of middle-of-the-road review. My review didn't paint the film as bad or good, and yet still, people got upset with me. Because they found one review that does not validate their opinion, that person must just be hating on this film to get clicks. I can't tell if people are really that shallow and insecure that they can't hear another opinion, or if they have a way too personal connection to this movie already that they had nothing to do with creating. It could be both, honestly. But it didn't just stop with me personally. All weekend long, I saw this narrative growing online. And it's all being put forward by horror media, horror YouTubers, and random social media accounts.
You're pathetically predictable.
The narrative being that anyone who says that this horror movie, or any horror movie for that matter, isn't scary, doesn't deserve to have their opinion taken seriously. Really? Imagine if I said that, not being one of the bigger YouTubers who is protected by the elitist mentality that's on this platform. Everyone would be calling me a toxic piece of shit, and yet when these guys do it, it's acceptable. Because a lot of them have built their platform on being complacent and making excuses for mediocrity. So they have a built-in fan base that co-signs every single thing that they say, even when they say something as stupid as a horror movie not being scary is not valid criticism. But when they shill for dog shit like Scream 6 or Halloween Ends, that's alright. Give me a f***ing break. We have comments like this one from Brandon Stresnig of Fangoria that says, quote, I think if you're like 30 plus, maybe even a little younger, it's a little silly to log in and talk about how you weren't scared by a movie. Did you tie your shoes all by yourself this morning?
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
And just so everyone knows, Brandon isn't as clever as he thinks he is by posting this. He's basically just regurgitating the same tired-ass talking point that I saw all week on X. But clearly he thinks he's saying something profound here, so let me indulge him. So according to Brandon's logic, if you are over 30, or maybe even a little bit younger, you shouldn't be scared by movies anymore. As if anyone who said that Longlegs isn't scary to them doesn't realize that it's all fucking fake. What Brandon doesn't seem to realize is that there are levels to fear, especially when it comes to how different people consume horror movies. First of all, if quality is subjective, then wouldn't fear be subjective as well? Not everyone is going to find the same thing scary that you do.
That makes sense.
Also, I'm in my 30s personally, and I still get unsettled, rattled, and even made to feel uncomfortable by certain movies, even movies that I've seen a million times before. And that is a credit to the filmmakers and storytellers who brought those movies to life. They understood their assignment. I mean, isn't that why we watch horror movies to begin with? To get that feeling? To feel like we are being put into these situations without actually experiencing them? Now, if you would have made the argument that most modern horror movies that come out are terrible at doing this, then I would have understood that. But no, instead, because some people didn't find Longlegs to be scary, those people need to start acting their age. This is probably the dumbest and most roundabout way yet that I've seen a shill try to make excuses for a movie.
Why are you the way that you are?
And to be clear, I'm not even specifically talking about Longlegs. In my review, I did say that parts of this movie made me feel unsettled. I also said that other aspects of the movie left me feeling underwhelmed. But apparently, according to Brandon and other people like him, it's silly to say whether or not a horror movie scares you or not. These people are experts at moving the goalpost and making excuses for mediocrity or worse. Maybe movies could scare all of us again. Maybe they just aren't trying hard enough. Not everything is the audience's fault. We have another comment from Michelle Swope who says, quote, "The people coming out of Longlegs and complaining that it isn't scary are not horror people and clearly miss the plot. Horror is much more than jump scares."
Shut up. Get out.
For those keeping score, this is a columnist for Bloody Disgusting that is basically trying to gatekeep the horror community and dismiss anyone who criticizes this film as not real horror fans. Again, imagine if I said something like that. There would be people lining up in the streets to once again call me a toxic piece of shit. No, we understood the plot, Michelle. Maybe people just weren't as impacted by it as you were. She really thinks that the people criticizing this movie for not being scary are saying so because there was no jump scares. That is a cop-out, and you are most definitely desperately trying to dismiss very valid criticisms. Do you really think that jump scares are the only thing that the critics of this film were looking for? Maybe you don't have a place in horror fandom or Bloody Disgusting if that's what you believe. The one thing that I noticed about horror YouTubers and even columnists for horror publications is that they tend to think that they are the authority on this subject. I guess because they cover it all the time? Well, I got news for you. Half of you can't even be taken seriously because you are quite literally the reason why this discourse is taking place. Because all you do is overhype movies and then you want to call people out when they don't feel the same way.
It's true.
You can ask anyone who listens to me who is not one of my dipshit trolls. When I like something, I don't expect everyone who watches me to feel the same way. Just like when I dislike something, I don't expect everyone to feel the same way either. If they do, great. Am I direct and no bullshit when it comes to delivering my opinions? Absolutely. And I make no apologies for that. I will never alter the way that I talk or present myself in a different way just to make my content more digestible for closed-minded people. But if you approach me and tell me why you disagree with me in a respectful manner, I am more than willing to have a conversation with you. And if you do that, I am certainly not going to tell you how to talk or how to react. I'm certainly not going to tell you that if you didn't find Longlegs to be scary, that that's not a valid criticism. All we can really do as individuals is explain things from our own perspective. And to me, if you aren't very obviously shilling, or if you aren't very obviously allowing your personal biases to cloud your judgment, then we can have that conversation. The irony is the same people saying this are the same ones who co-sign things like Rotten Tomatoes, a site that offers next to nothing in the way of substance when it comes to film criticism. I'll tell you this, I would trust your average horror fan more than I would trust anyone on that website. And the fact that these people that I'm talking about today don't says a lot about them. Bottom line, let people dislike whatever they want to dislike. Criticism is not hate. It's not unhealthy or a waste of energy to criticize something. I would really like it if people stopped being such big and learned how to be critical again.
Y'all be cool. Right on.